welcome back, and it's time for us to now look at Division 2, where the top four looks all but confirmed. It's just a matter of those sides really jostling for those positions for the finals now, but it all came about with a pretty remarkable draw at the weekend. We'll get into that in a moment. Fitzroy Stars and North Heidelberg, nothing could separate those two sides, but Whittlesea's demolition job of Mernda probably means now that those top four sides would need almost a disaster from here to miss out on playing finals football.
Yeah, I think so. And also, it seems like South Morang will be in Division 3 next season after their pretty dismal performance against Layla. We'll get to that later. Also, big win to Whittlesea over Mernda there, and the draw between North Heidelberg and Fitzroy Stars. Can't wait to see that.
Well, they were the headlines, and we'll start with that game at Fitzroy, or at Sir Douglas Nichols Oval. It came down to a Corey Wanganeen shot after the siren. The scoreboard was inaccurate at the time of him kicking it, so it said that if a goal went through, they would have won by a point, the Stars. As it was, he was able to kick a pretty magnificent goal, and in the end the points were shared. It was probably fitting because the Stars had the better of the first quarter, led by as much as 6 goals, but fell 2 goals down with not long to go, and I think in the end both sides are probably pretty happy to share the spoils.
I think so. And Shane Harvey, we mentioned every week, another 8 goals. He'll certainly be going for that record of 153 in a season. As for Fitzroy Stars, like you said, a drawn game. I think I think they'll get the points this week, but geez, it would have been a great game.
Well, we'll start with them first. They do take on the Laylaw Football Club, and the Bloods, you saw them firsthand at the weekend. They had a really important win. They had to bounce back after a pretty woeful loss the weekend before, and they got that win against South Morang. They're now 2 games and percentage clear of the Lions, and you think they've booked their position in Division 2 for 2014?
Yeah, I spoke to Mark Ventura after the game, and he was really happy about the win. He says really that they haven't really been playing that bad. They've got a lot of injury worries and all the rest, but certainly on the weekend, it was a great win. It's good to see the Layla Footy Club at this stage will be staying in the Division 2 for season 2014.
And the Stars, you'd have to think they're the raging hot favourites to beat Layla at second versus second bottom, and the Stars, well, they haven't lost in quite some time since that loss to Whittlesea, where they were obviously quite a margin up at 3/4 time. So at the moment, they've got a hold on second position. It's just 2 points and a fraction of percentage over the North Heidelberg Football Club. But for the time being, they're pretty safe in the top 2, given they've got the Bloods this week.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to be going with Fitzroy Stars to win this game. I think they're going to be way too strong. It seems like when they're hot, but when they're not, they're not. But I'd certainly be going with the points for them.
And South Morang now looks to rebound against a Mernda side, which was equally disappointing at the weekend. The Demons they troubled Whittlesea the first time around, lost that one by 3 goals after leading for the majority at the weekend. Final margin was pretty ugly, wasn't it? 135 points to Whittlesea, and that was after leading at quarter time. So it went pear-shaped, to say the least, after quarter time. South Morang never truly in the hunt against Laylaw. Went down 7 goals to 1 in the first quarter against the Breeze and wasn't able to recover thereafter.
Yeah, well, particularly in that first quarter, Laylaw went on the kick. Well, they kicked 7 goals, but I think they kicked about 6 goals in the first 8-9 minutes. So pretty much from then, they needed a big second quarter, South Morang, which didn't happen. And from then on, I've really felt it was quite a poor performance, considering they need the win to stay up in Division 2. As for Mernda, there's a big turnaround to nearly winning their round 2 clash, I believe it was, against Whittlesea. Then to go down by that amount, I think it's quite a poor performance. But I do think they'll bounce back this week and defeat South Morang.
I'm in the same tact as well. I think Mernda will bounce back, but they did lose to Layla a couple of weeks back, so it is still a danger game for the Mernda Football Club. Whittlesea is at home to Hurstbridge, and at the moment, nothing looks like it can stop Whittlesea. They're flying, it has to be said. 11 wins, 1 loss at the weekend. Smashed another opposition side, which we felt may give it some trouble given what had happened earlier in the season. But Andrew Fairchild's just in ripping form. He kicked 9 goals, and again, their scoring crowd. West another 30 goals for the match. They're playing some ripping football at the moment, averaging around 125, 130 points a round, and you would think that Hurstbridge is going to have trouble matching it with the Whittlesea Football Club.
Well, remembering last time though, that Hurstbridge I think got within about 2-3 goals, and Whittlesea kicked away in that last quarter. Was quite disappointed with Hurstbridge against Diamond Creek. They never really seemed to get close with Diamond Creek. They seem to have the wood over them. I would certainly be going with Whittlesea, kicking over 30 goals. You'd have to say to be favourites this week.
No doubting that. And the final game of the round is probably the pick of any game in Division 2. It is North Heidelberg taking on Diamond Creek. It's 3 versus 4, a big game for both sides as they look to get a double chance in the finals. Diamond Creek's had North's measure throughout their season. They've played twice, they've won both games, and both of those times, it has to be said, was at Coventry Oval. This time, the game to be played at Shelley Street Reserve. I think North Heidelberg's playing their better football, but having said that, Diamond Creek certainly returned to form at the weekend. They got some good players back, Matt Walter, Jai Norman, just to name a few, also Andrew Owens, so some good players came back in, and they had a pretty resounding win over Hurstbridge, winning by 9 goals.
Yeah, I think last 2 times Diamond Creek have defeated North Heidelberg. I'm going to be going with North Heidelberg to win this one. I've just got a feeling they slowly starting to get that form back, and certainly Shane Harvey in great form as well. I'll be tipping North Heidelberg to win this game.
I think North will win that one as well. I think last weekend they were pretty good against the Stars. Early on they looked like being blown out of the water, trailing by 6 goals, and it's pretty tough when you're away from home and trailing by a pretty big margin to fight back. And it was a big day, of course, playing for the NAIDOC Cup as well. Meant a lot to both clubs, and it was a great effort to get back in front. In the end, didn't win the game, but certainly taking 2 points away from the Fitzroy Stars was no disgrace. And if they can win this one here, they really put a big dent in Diamond Creek's hopes of finishing inside the top 2, and it may well become a race between 3 for those top 2 spots. And having said that, you probably think Whittlesea's all but short of at least the top 2 spots, so it may well come down to Diamond Creek, to North Heidelberg and the Fitzroy Stars. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at Division 3 and some pretty interesting games last weekend and some really big games coming up this weekend as well. We now go into Division 3, where this weekend we see a top of the table clash, Panton Hill returning from the bye to take on Thomastown. Last weekend, some interesting results. We saw Thomastown just get over Reservoir. It was a game, almost played in halves. It was Thomastown well on top early on, and Reservoir came home in a hurry, falling just 5 points short. We saw Parkside keep its slim finals hopes alive with a really important win, and Watsonia they go into the bye with another great victory, and you think from here that, well, it's not a matter of thinking, it's probably all but certain that St Mary's won't play finals football for the first time since its inception year of 2010. But what do you make of the weekend footy? Probably Thomastown and Reservoir was the main game, and it came right down to the wire.
They've played 2 thrilling games now. I believe last time was a 19-point win there. Also, I think Thomastown are the real deal this year. They played a great game. Also, disappointing to see St Mary's. Seems like their campaign's well and truly over for this season. Having said that, Watsonia is playing some great footy who go into the bye.
Certainly, and this weekend, as I said from the top, it's a top of the table clash. Panton Hill takes on the Thomastown Football Club. That game to be played at Ben Freeley Oval in Hurstbridge. A massive test for both sides. Panton Hill will, after losing to Thomastown in the first outing, they don't want to go towards September having lost to a side twice in their 2 meetings during the course of the year. On the flip side for Thomastown, they know that a win here can really shore up a place inside of the top 2, keeps them a chance of potentially winning the minor premiership as well. But the way with the top 4 structure, it doesn't matter if you're first or second, it's just a matter of being in that top 2 and getting a double chance. So this is a massive game for both clubs. Panton Hill certainly be playing some good football before the bye, and I certainly think they deserve the tag of favouritism.
Yeah, I'm going to still be going with Thomastown, though. I remember last time they did defeat Panton Hill, playing at the Hurstbridge footy ground as well. I think their younger players should be able to overrun Panton Hill. I know Panton Hill's in some great form, but I just think Thomastown will get the points.
I'm going to go just the opposite way. I think Thomastown's been winning. I don't think their form's been as great as they'd like it to be. They had that tough win against St Mary's, winning by 3 points. Heidelberg West pushed them for 3 quarters, and Reservoir bounced back against them as well. So they're certainly not playing well over 4 quarters. Having said that, you're right. The last time they played, they certainly more than accounted for Panton Hill. So a massive game there. The next game we look at is Reservoir taking on Parkside, and it's an interesting one now because Reservoir, you'd say they couldn't make the top 2 from where they are now. They're a long way back. They're 2 wins behind both Thomastown and also a win further back from Panton Hill. So you'd say the top 2 chances are gone. Having said that, Parkside, if they were to win this one, it'd have to be an upset. They would go within a game of being inside of the top 4, and it would make for an interesting close to the year. Reservoir knows a win makes sure that they play finals football here, so plenty at stake for both sides. I just think over the course of the year, Reservoir's been the better team. I know they lost the previous encounter to Parkside, but I think they'll bounce back this weekend.
Yeah, remember last time, I believe they won by 27 points. The thing that concerns me about Reservoir is their percentage once again, and that's what he's going to, obviously Parkside be looking at. If they can get a win, certainly the 4th place up for grabs. I'm going to be going the other way. I'm going to go with Parkside to win this game.
Just on the weekend, Parkside had the win against the Heidelberg West Football Club and had to do it the hard way. They had some pretty poor form against the Hawks, it has to be said. Had lost their previous 2, trailed at half time, but certainly bounced back in the second half and got a good win. That was without Darren Gresham. For Reservoir, well, that 5-point loss to Thomastown was without Ashley Flavel, but it's good to see Dallas King back in the side. He'd been out of the side for a while, been made to work hard to win his spot back, and he kicked 4 goals, as did Toby O'Meara in that loss. So disappointing. It's 2 weeks in a row now where a really slow start's cost Reservoir, where they've trailed by more than 5 goals in the first quarter, worked hard to get back into the game but haven't been able to secure the 4 points. Final game of this weekend sees Heidelberg West host St Mary's at Heidelberg Park, and it's now the bottom 2 sides in the competition, and I didn't think we'd be saying that about St Mary's when the season began, but it's been a pretty disappointing 5 weeks for the St Mary's team, and they've lost 5 in the trot, and they go into this game here knowing that it really is a danger game now. Heidelberg West isn't playing too bad football. They've really pushed Pantanal for a half a footy, backed that up with a decent performance against the Thomastown Football Club, and at the weekend, as we said, led Parkside at half time, but fell away after half time. The final margin there of 33 points.
Yeah, it was as you've said, Sam, it's a disappointing year from St Mary's, and pretty much their 10-goal loss to Watsona pretty much has sealed their season. You can almost say that this is a danger game this time around against Heidelberg West. I'm still going to be sticking with St Mary's to win this game, but I wouldn't be all surprised if Heidelberg got the points.
I'm still going to go with St Mary's based on the fact that last time around they really touched up the Heidelberg West Football Club. They actually recorded their highest score in their existence on that day. I think it was 23 goals that they kicked for the day, and that after that win there, they were just knocking on the top 4 again. They were 3-3, and since then they haven't had a win. So big game coming up at the weekend. Wasteful kicking certainly hurt them, 7 goals 16, but it wasn't the difference between the two. Certainly Watsonia much deserving of their victory. The Saints have the bye, so a big time for them now. They're certainly looking forward to their first finals campaign in quite a while. Big weekend of football. Make sure you're out at a ground on Saturday afternoon. Of course, we did say the NFL match of the day comes to you from 1 p.m, so do tune into 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. Of course, all the action is again available on the Monday on the NFL website, and make sure you are checking out the live scores as well through www.nfl.org.au, also m.nfl.org.au on your mobile browser. We thank you for your time, and we'll see you again next week.